For those of you that were here last time, I didn't finish my story from last time. If you weren't here, was talking about the fear that I uncovered when I had to go to challenge course facilitator training and climb up onto a 35-foot tower. And I discovered I have a pretty debilitating fear of heights, or did at that time. But the story continues after discovering that, because I still had to deal with that fear. I was not done with it yet. I had learned that the 18-year-old Girl Scout had other fears and did not have a fear of heights, but I still had mine. And the instructor informed us that we would all be performing a rescue of someone who was up on one of the high cables and who would be pretending to be caught up there off of one of those. And so we would have to climb up not a set of 3 poles with a nice platform in between them, but one really tall pole with cables kind of stretching out from that pole into the distance. And normally when somebody who was going through a particular event on the course, they would climb up to the first cable and get out, walk onto it, maybe holding onto another cable, but there would be a third cable above them that had a belay rope that they would be attached to keep them safe. And as a rescuer, we'd have to climb all the way up to the top cable, hook our rescue rope to that cable with a pulley, and then we'd have to climb back down, go out over the second cable, out in the middle of the air, all right? And then we would be lowered by this team that was on the rescue rope, our belay, and we'd be lowered down to the participant, hook them onto our rescue rope, which was big enough for 2 people, cut them off of their rope, and then be lowered to the ground. And the instructor informed us, all of this that we would have to do, that I would have to do. Climb up that pole, I wasn't sure how high, which had nothing attached to it but some cables, and we'd be climbing out, walking on the cables up in the air. Yeah, I didn't eat much supper that night. My stomach was not hungry, and I did not sleep very good that night. My stomach was tied in knots. The next day was the last day of class, which was a weekend class. So this is Sunday, which is, by the way, is a very good argument in my mind for why you should never skip church. But I can assure you that there was a lot of praying that went on before I had to go up that pole. I had to wait on several of the other students. I think the instructor did not pick me to go first because she understood, yes, I had some reluctance. But eventually, I had no choice. I had to go. And so I stood at the bottom of that pole with my hands on the rungs of the climbing hooks, with my feet on the ground, and I prayed. Now, normally, I don't remember what I pray any more than I remember most conversations that I have with people. But this conversation with God sticks out in my mind. I remember telling him, if you call me to do this, and you want me to do this, you have to help me get up that pole. You have to give me the strength to climb and the courage to walk out on that cable, because I do not have that courage in myself. I needed him. I needed his help, and I knew I needed his help. And so I called for his help, because fear threatened to stop me from being able to act, because fear will do that. Real fear can do that. Fear can prevent you from doing what you need to do and what you know you need to do. I needed to do this. I knew I needed his help to do it. So you better help me, God, or this is not happening. Last time, in our story of the disciples on the Sea of Galilee rowing against the wind, we talked about the possibility that they felt fear, and that we talked about there was certainly a presence of difficulty. If there wasn't fear, they could have felt fear over the darkness. They could have felt fear over the rough water. Now, it doesn't specifically tell us, but we can surmise and probably get pretty close to what was true. But likely, at least some of them felt fear, and they certainly were tired of rowing, and so they were in difficulty. We know that. Now, just to remind us of some things that we learned last time, Jesus does not always keep us from having to do hard things. Jesus does not shield us from all difficulty. Because, truth be told, there will be times when Jesus will ask his followers to do hard things. And if we are his followers, we might have to do hard things, right? He needs us to. That was true then, it's true now. And when that happens, when Jesus might ask us to do hard things, we need to remember some things. Jesus has never abandoned us in the middle of hard things. Has he? He has always gotten us through hard things. Well, how do we know that? Well, we're here. He isn't going to stop getting us through hard things now if he's always gotten us through them in the past. There's an old song. He didn't bring us this far to leave us. He didn't teach us to swim to let us drown. He didn't build his home in us to move away. He didn't lift us up to let us down. Okay? Jesus has gotten us through hard things in the past. He will continue to do that. Next thing. The other thing we need to remember from last time is he can get to us fast wherever we are. All right? Physical separation from him is not the same as spiritual separation from him. He's not far off, and he's certainly not unaware of our difficulty and our fear. All right? Now, we have been conjecturing that they felt fear, but one of the verses specifically says they felt fear. And it was a fear caused by a surprising thing. It's in verse 19 of John chapter 6. They're out on the lake without Jesus in the boat. And verse 19 says, when they had rowed 3 or 4 miles, they saw Jesus approaching the boat, walking on the water, and they were frightened. That particular word in other versions is terrified. They were overwhelmed with this fear. And it was at Jesus, of all things. Was it because they didn't recognize him? Or was it because they did recognize him? It doesn't say, but we can see the presence of Jesus is not always calming. May not be. Because sometimes in our lives, can Jesus be doing something or saying something and we not recognize him for who he is? That is possible. They reacted to Jesus in fear, and not a little bit of fear. Fear was present, and it may have been present before, but it gets ramped up with Jesus. Which should have helped them calm down did not help them calm down, at least at first. And we need to see that. Well, that's not logical. True. But fear is irrational, remember? It doesn't always follow logic. God may step in to help us, and we may not recognize him for who he is, or we may just still react in fear. We carry fear around in our bodies. It's not always by conscious thought that it comes out. But the thing is, even at that point, you don't have to let fear run the show. When you feel fear, don't give in to it. It will try to control you. Don't let it. Don't react in the fear you feel. Yes, it's there. Because it's not always the right reaction. You can't erase fear by doing nothing about it. That's what I found when I was claiming. And you also can't erase fear by giving in to it, which is what I think they were finding. All right. It's not always the logical response that gets the strongest response in these situations. It could be the irrational response of fear. And it's not always logical to feel fear when it's Jesus coming to help. But then Jesus doesn't always come to help in the most logical, obvious way or the way we expect. And so we jump to fear before we can react logically. Are you afraid? Don't let it take over. I know that's easy to say, it's hard to do. We sometimes jump to a fear response, and we need to realize that drive to jump to the fear in us and let it take over. And the other thing, we also need to realize other people may jump to the fear response and they have it produce irrational reactions in them. And so we need to give a bit of allowance for other people too. If we know we've dealt with it ourselves, yes, it's also out there with others. And we may not be the ones that are afraid of this. We might be afraid of something else. But to give them a bit of allowance for the fact that they might be just reacting with a fear response. But remember, even when fear is present, Jesus is coming to help. Jesus is available to help. How do we know that? How does he help? Well, look at the next verse, verse 20 at John 6. But he said to them, "It is I, don't be afraid." It's a very kind of a wooden sounding translation. It is I. We would not have said that. We would have said, it's me. But that's not what Jesus said. In the original language, he said, I am. Ego eimi, if you like to know what the Greek is. I am, which is a really interesting response. In the Gospel of John and in other places, on multiple occasions, Jesus has said, I am something, right? I'm the bread of life. I'm the good shepherd of the sheep. I'm the water of life. I'm the resurrection and life. I'm the way, the truth, and the life. This time he doesn't say, I am something. He just says simply, I am. Which you might wonder, well, how's that helpful? We would say, I'm here. Chill out. Calm down. He says, I am. I exist. I am here. I am me. I am who I am, which sounds a lot like what his father said to Moses way back at the burning bush. Jesus is saying, I am whatever you need. The fact that I exist and my existence means what it means is the best thing I can give you to calm down your fears. Jesus says, I am. And then what does he say? He says, I am. Don't be afraid. You do not have to let the fear that you have dominate you. You can invite Jesus into that situation where you feel fear. You can call him. You can go to him. You can tell him about the fear, and you can give it to him, and you can ask for his help. Jesus, help me now. Some of the best prayers ever were really short. Can I give testimony that he answers that prayer? Can I tell you in all seriousness that I know from experience he gives help when he is asked for help? Jesus, help me. It's the best prayer out there, bar none. And you can say it in one breath. I can vouch for that because that prayer I prayed standing at the base of that pole with my hands on the first climbing pegs. Yeah, he answered that prayer. If you want me to climb this pole and shimmy out on that cable, you have to help me. Jesus, help me is a prayer he answers. You can work on overcoming fear because you can get his help. Now, notice what they had to do, though, in their fear. Look at the next verse in John chapter 6, verse 21. Then they were willing to take him into the boat, and immediately the boat reached the shore where they were heading. There's a quick resolution once Jesus is in the situation. Notice, though, that in their fright, they were not willing to let Jesus into the boat, which is crazy when you think about it. The very thing, the very person that could help them the most, they couldn't get his help because they kept him out. Before, when they were terrified, they kept him out of the boat. Fear can keep us from the very help that we need from God, from the very help we need in God. All right? I want you to see this. Fear can keep us from the help that we need from God. Because why? Because we keep him away and we don't take him into our boat. You can't eradicate your fear by doing nothing about it. You can't eradicate your fear by giving into it. And you can't overcome your fear by keeping Jesus out of it. Why is it dangerous to be afraid of Jesus? Because anything that we fear, we do not let into our hearts because we keep our hearts guarded from things that make us afraid. If we are afraid of Jesus, that's a very dangerous thing because then we don't let him in. We don't let him down into us where he can help with those fears. The book of 1 John, chapter 4, verse 18, and I want to go there. Not the Gospel of John where we've been, but one of the letters of John, chapter 4, 1 John 4:18, has something to say about fear and God and his love, and what his love would do with the fear that we feel. I want you to look at it. 1 John 4:18. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear. Because fear has to do with punishment. The one who fears is not made perfect in love. All right, this sounds strange. All right. It says, perfect love casts out fear. But who has perfect love? Not me, not you. Certainly not us. God has perfect love. And he expresses that love towards us. And in that perfect love, trying to get it into us, he casts out fear. But there's also another sense that this love is being perfected. It's not perfect yet. It's not complete yet. Well, that can't be talking about God. That is talking about us. God is working on our love, the love we have, and he's bringing it to completion. And notice what is in that completion and in that perfecting of that love. A removal of fear. But what is required for that fear removal? Is God just going to barge into our lives and pull that fear out? No. It requires a coming to God, bringing that fear to him, and letting his perfect love deal with it. See, perfect love casts out fear. But God tells us, you have to bring it to me. You can't hold on to it. Meaning what? We must get next to him. We must get close to him. We must invite him into our boat, into our heart. Then he can cast out that fear, or begin casting it out by perfecting our love for him, by coming next to him. See, that phrase of fear has to do with punishment. That's really interesting. Fear has to do with punishment. We're afraid that we will be punished for having the fear, thus making ourselves more afraid. So your version may say that it has to do with torment. That phrasing might remind you of some other passages in the Bible, and some of those passages have to do with a possession. Paul, in 2 Timothy, and we're not going to look this one up, but he said the Spirit God gives us does not make us fear. God does not give us a spirit of fear, but a power of love and self-discipline. Fear can be a spirit of oppression, but God is saying, that fear didn't come from me. I did not send you fear. We have to trust his goodness to know that that's true. So it came from somewhere else. But God is saying, I can cast it out. But you have to bring it to me. You have to bring that fear to me, God says. You have to let me into your boat. You have to let me into your heart where that fear lives. And then you might be even afraid of me, even though I want to help you, because you think I want to punish you or bring torment into your life. And so you fear me, but that fear did not come from me. But I long to cast it out, God says. Dad. Okay. So what? The remedy for fear is Jesus being who he is and being present with us. He's more powerful than the difficulties we face, right? Like they face the wind. We may face opposition. But the very thing that is the greatest help to the disciples then and to us now, we might be afraid and we might not let into our situation. See, the remedy for fear is the person of Jesus and the love that he comes in to bring. And the fact that he is, and he is what we need. He is the I am. He says he is, and then he says that we don't have to be afraid. Note the difference. One is something we feel, but the other one is a state of being. He will calm us with his voice. We need to listen to it. He will calm us with his presence, which his voice proves it's him. Right? And he will calm us with his message, which his voice conveys. You do not have to let fear dominate. You can invite Jesus into your boat. You can call him, you can go to him, and you can give fear to him. You can invite him in. Ask for his help. Don't let fear stop you from asking for his help, because it will try to stop you. You do not have to give into the fear that you feel. You can overcome fear with his help. I've preached about this before, but Jesus said this over and over and over because it's such a prevalent problem, our fear and being afraid in our fear. Now, even after Jesus helps, fear may remain. It may take several times before it's removed from being effective. I liken fear to a dense cloud, like if you could think of a dense wall of air in front of us, right? You can punch through a cloud and you'll get through, but some of the cloud is likely going to remain, all right? But every time you punch through that cloud, it will break into smaller pieces, and fear's like that. You can get through fear to the other side. And you don't know what's waiting for you on the other side of fear. It could be a great victory and a great strength of Christ coming into your life. And then you'll know that Jesus can come to you wherever you are, and he can bring his help. Right? Greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. That's still true. Now, you might still feel fear. You might still feel anxiety. It will still try to prevent you from following his direction, but it doesn't have to stop you. The best remedy for fear is having a person with you, a person of great strength. And that's possible for you. He is here. Remember, he is, and invite him in and let him into your. Okay, so what? Maybe you're at the bottom of a pole that you need to climb. Do you know what you need to do? Ask Jesus into your boat. Help you tackle your fear. See what he can do. Yes, I know. Your stomach's upside down and jumping cartwheels. He will still come. Jesus calls you to follow him. And you follow him. That means you stay next to him and you keep him close to you and you keep yourself close to him. Come follow Jesus with us. You need to make a commitment to follow Jesus. You can do that today, right where you're at. Let me pray for us. Oh, Father, the things fear does to us, it is such a great tool of the enemy. And you did not give that to us. We kind of gave it to ourselves, and he uses it. Father, may we come to you. Jesus, may we trust you to be here in our fear. And may we give our fears to you and believe you will help us even in the midst of that desperation. May we reach for you and not let fear stop us. I don't know where people are with this, and I know it's different fears for different ones. So I pray for those that feel fear today. Grant a release by the strength of your presence. I pray in the name of Jesus. Amen.